Good morning. Today is the morning of the third day, and today is a boat ride into the mangrove forest.
So I've been really looking forward to this part of the trip because we are going on a boat into the mangrove forest, into the national park. It is adjoining the national parks and around it. And this is our best chance of seeing wildlife in the Sunderbans. And in particular, I'm really hoping to see the tiger because so much talk surrounds the tiger, the Sundarbans tiger, and people here live with that, with stories of the tiger predominant in their daily lives. And so I've really been wanting to see the tiger in the Sunderbans, and this is going to be the best shot at that. So it is going to be the same boat that ferried us across to the island that we were taking. And if you haven't watched the first part of the video, I'll link it here so that you can click through and watch that. So we'll be sitting on the top platform of the boat, from where we have a good view of the surrounding water. And the whole of today till 5 p.m. We are expected to be on board the boat, and hopefully that's going to give us a good opportunity for some sightings of birds and animals along the way.
The forest area through this smaller trip.
So the plan was that we'd head out from Bali Island towards the islands of the national park, and we'd head into one of the creeks that go in between these islands, and then drive past this and take a loop around the national park, and then come back to our starting destination later in the evening. And on the way, we are supposed to be stopping at one or two forest department jungle camps or stops where we'd be able to get out and explore a bit. Now, I have to stress at this point that although we're going for a safari in general to see, any kind of animal or bird we can, there's one thing that is uppermost in everybody's mind, and that is the possibility of sighting a tiger. And I wouldn't blame myself or anyone for expecting this, because, as I said, the tiger plays such a huge role in the lives of people around the Sunderbans. From what I heard, there's around 100 tigers resident in this region of the Sunderbans. And what is unique is that the tiger has made humans as a natural part of its diet in these regions. And there has been so many reports, hundreds to thousands of reports of people being eaten by the tiger in the Sunderbans.
दुकान पे रहते हैं तो बाहर नहीं आएगा, तो फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट क्या करेगा, नेटिंग करके उसके पास डाल दिया केस, टाइगर केस.
Everybody that we met in the Sunderbans who had something to do with the forests told us stories about the tigers. And what was surprising is that they all said that the tiger kind of restricts itself to the national parks and mostly catches people when they go out for fishing or crab hunting or honey collection into the national parks. There's very, very few cases in which the tiger has come out and attacked somebody in the villages.
इस साल में 5 एरिया में टाइगर गांव में एंट्री हुआ.
In these regions, the tigers are also extremely good swimmers, and they can cross islands in a matter of minutes against the current. And you hear so many tales about boatmen being carried away closer to the national park, and the tiger swimming across and kind of selecting its prey from among people on a boat. And also how boatmen wear masks at the back of their head to prevent tiger attacks and so on.
As per the local myth and belief, if you
There is a local forest goddess that people here worship across religions, both Hindus, Muslims, Christians, whoever it is that is going out into the forest. They first seek the blessings of Born Bibi, who is the forest goddess, and only then go out into the forest. And they believe Born Bibi helps protect the forest and keep them safe as well. And so, whenever there are incidents of tigers catching people, they take it in their stride, saying that somebody must have displeased the goddess, or there's a very particular reason for why she has done that, and it's a part of daily lives. And also, those with forest permits report these deaths, but there are people who go into the forest without any permits, and if they come to harm, they do not even report it for fear of being arrested for entering the forest and so on. Our only chance of seeing a tiger or any other creature from within the forest is if they come out to the banks of the mangroves, because inside the mangroves there's no chance of seeing absolutely anything because it's so thick. The forest department plays a very crucial role here, not just in protecting the forest and the animals, but also in the lives of people and helping in rescues. We soon approached our first halt for the day. This was one of the jungle camps set up by the forest department. There are many such jungle camps, and this one is called Dobanki jungle camp. And it's quite interesting because what they've done is they've constructed a walkway with netting on both sides to prevent from attacking humans as well as humans from wandering outside. And this is like a canopy walk because it is almost on the level of the tree lines, and from here you can get to good sightings of animals around the park. This camp also hosts a breeding project on the Indian River Terrapin, or the Northern River Terrapin. This is one of the rarest turtles in the world and is restricted to the Sunderbans, and they have been able to breed that here and release them into the wild. There's also a watchtower here that overlooks a watering hole, and you can climb to the top, and it gives you a very good view of both the watering hole as well as the surrounding forest area, and you're likely to see some good sightings of animals from here. When we arrived at the place, it was still low tide, and you could look down into the mangroves, and you could see the mud flats. And in the mud flats, you could see a lot of activity from crabs and snails. However, soon the tide started rolling in, and the water started to gently flood back into the mud plains and cover the mud flats. And this is quite a magical experience when you're viewing it happening in real time as the water gently slides back in, because all of a sudden there's a change in the whole atmosphere. It gets a little more breezy and cooler, and there's a sense of urgency among the life around, and you can see that there's a lot more activity going on in terms of bird and animal life, and all these birds fly in to capitalize on the creatures that are moving out of the water, and there's a lot of feeding and flying happening suddenly. Soon it was time to head back and continue our trip. So we went back to the boat and we had a nice home cooked, or rather boat cooked breakfast, which is made down in the kitchens below the boat. And this area, the kitchen area, shares space with the engine bay. And then from there you have the adjoining room, which is kind of a bedroom with a series of beds. And these are used for long trips when they have to go for several days and so on. And this opens out onto the boat deck. So it's quite a nice little setup they have here. So we continued our trip along the creek, passing many boats along the way and several islands. There was not much to do except stare out into the islands and try and sight the tiger. And you can see as we are passing along, most of these islands are covered in what is called the tiger palm, and it's extremely difficult to differentiate a tiger from the background here. It's completely camouflaged, and therefore it makes it a difficult sighting. But it's really a pleasure to watch, as the high tide comes in and floods the plains and then moves back and so on. And there's always a possibility that you could sight many other animals and birds along the way. It was evening by the time we reached our second and final stop for the day. This is a place called Sajnekhali Wildlife Sanctuary or camp. And this place has an interpretation center, but it was closed when we arrived. So we had to be content walking around the locality and exploring. This place is known for its notorious monkeys, but we were also fortunate to sight this water monitor lizard. The place unfortunately closed sooner than expected due to some ongoing repair works, but we headed over to the waterfront and we sat near the mud flats and watched the creatures of the mud flats. And this is just a fascinating activity to see these mud skippers, amazing creatures, half fish, half amphibious creatures. Just watching them do their things in the mud and the water is just so fascinating. And the diversity of crabs in this region, it's just spectacular. You find them in all colors, shapes and sizes. It's just amazing to look at these different kinds and forms. With the sun finally setting for the day, we had to head back and call it a day for our sightings as well. But before we got back, as if in consolation, we finally got a grand sighting of the crocodile, the saltwater crocodile or the Gangetic saltwater crocodile, an amazing creature by itself in these regions. On our way back, everyone seemed rather silent and thoughtful, and one thing uppermost in my mind was that I had missed seeing the tiger. But that's okay, I was really fortunate to have been in this fascinating habitat. And maybe I need to come back again to actually see the tiger in these beautiful surroundings. And I'm really looking forward to being back another time.